All right, guys. Same thing from Saturday night. Just got Deebo with his shoulder from the injuries from the game. Go ahead.
Kyle, is there any specifics as far as how the imaging came back on Deebo's shoulder?
It wasn't broken, so that was a real good sign. But still hurting too much for us to really have an idea how it's going to heal up this week. So we just got to be patient, see how he feels on Wednesday, and based off if it's improving, it'll give us a better idea whether he has a chance for the game or not.
Because he is such a unique player, do you kind of put together an idea of not necessarily, a completely different game plan, but certain plays that would involve him that you may not be able to run Sunday?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if we know he's not available, which I think hopefully we would know that by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or at least in those 3 days, then it makes it easier, at least from a game plan standpoint. You don't have to do much, but if there's any chance, which I think we'll have a better idea by Wednesday, obviously there'll be things in there for him.
Kyle, did he get hurt on the same play that put him in the concussion tent?
Yes. I mean, that was just from spotters upstairs. Deebo his head was fine. It was the shoulder and only the shoulder, but I think it looked live like he possibly could have taken a hit in the head. So that was just people from upstairs.
Okay.
Kyle, how much confidence does it give you that you have a veteran like Chris Conley who can take over when he's called upon?
A ton. I mean, that's why guys like him and Willie Snead are here. It comes up. You never know when. It came up last year for us too. Those guys had to step in. I mean, Willie huge, and then having both of them this year, and they've both done it in different games throughout the year for us, whether it's special teams or offense, and that was a big time play that Chris made in that game.
Kyle, what were your first impressions of watching Detroit?
Just really good team. You can see why they're here. Their defense runs around, hits, plays with a lot of energy. Got a number of players over there, and then their offense is as good as it gets. They got a great O-line, great quarterback, 2 great running backs, great tight end, and a bunch of good wideouts who play the right way and a hell of a scheme. So pretty obvious to see why they've been so good this year.
Kyle, after the game, Drake Greenlaw didn't seem quite as remorseful for not getting down, but obviously you've talked to him, and I would assume that he feels a little bit more remorseful now.
I think he's glad that it ended the way he did, and I don't think he'll ever make that mistake again. We didn't get on him too hard, but he could tell how big of a deal it was after. We're very appreciative he made the play, but stuff can flip very fast and you can ruin some of the best plays ever if you give a team any more of a chance. And the way that game was going, man, we didn't need to give them any more chances. So I think he learned his lesson, and hopefully we'll never have to deal with that again.
Kyle, what was your evaluation of how Deebo? How would you evaluate
about Deebo first?
Go ahead.
How would you say Diamador played the other night? And also, is there something about the way he's wired that allows him to seem like he steps up even more in the postseason?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think Deebo plays at a level that I think that's higher than most guys just from a mentality standpoint. He doesn't hesitate. He shoots his guns all the time, doesn't blink, plays extremely physical. Is on guys. I mean, he's mentally aggressive and he's physically aggressive, which allows you to make plays and allows you to get away with things sometimes when you're a little off. So Deebo was huge. He's been huge all year, and love the style of how he plays.
Kyle, how did Eric Armstead look
with the
in
penalties
his
from
back
Ambry? Kyle, with the penalties from Ambry, is it a lack of confidence, a lack of awareness, and what is the coaching point on that this week?
They're all different. You can't grab guys. So, it has to do sometimes with staying closer to them so you don't grab them when they make the second move. That could be on one. The other one down the field, yes, that's not all on him. He needs a little bit more help and stuff, but in that down and distance, you got to stay on top of that, and so you can flatten things. When you're digging out from behind and any ball's underthrown like that, it's extremely, extremely hard to avoid the contact with the receiver going up for the ball. So he's got to make sure to get himself in better positions before he ends up in that tough position.
Kyle, One question about, I guess it's two questions, surprise, but the ball to Ray that on your second to last drive, the deep ball when it was 3rd down and 10 at the 40, was there a miscommunication there?
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the DB fell down, and the quarterback can't see when the DB throws down. He's falling down, so he's looking at other things and then going and expecting the receiver to be somewhere. And he wasn't there. Ray, the guy fell down, and Ray moved to a different spot. And you can understand what Ray was thinking, but that's the quarterback isn't watching that guy till he's throwing it. So that was a good learning experience for him, and something that does happen in football, but it was a really unfortunate time that happened right there.
And then also, obviously, each play is different, but regarding Brock's inaccuracy throughout the game, how much do you think that had to do with the conditions and just a wet ball?
I think it did a little bit with I think a couple. Even just watching Love too. Watch the first play of the game that he had on that swing route, the ball slipping, throwing in front of the guy. There was a couple that got him, so there was definitely a few that got Brock. A few that he probably just missed trying to throw around a guy so it doesn't get tipped. And a couple that you just can't explain that just do happen. You usually have a couple in the game, but then you had a couple more with weather and a couple more just not being exactly on the throw. And he had a few too many of them, but he also made some hell of a throws too. Dropping some of those balls over that middle linebacker to get to Juwan was unbelievable. The low and away ball to BA on 3rd down when they had pretty tight coverage on it. It was a hell of a throw and a hell of a catch that kept us out there, after the drop. So he did a lot of good things too. By no means was he perfect, but it was really cool when we needed him to be at his best, he was. And so it gave us the best chance to win at the end.
Kyle, what have you learned from the previous weeks when you've prepared for NFC Championship games? What's your strategy in terms of getting ready? Is it the same as the regular season, or is there anything that you've learned to focus on differently?
No, nothing's different. The stakes and everything, and people care about it a lot more because there's nothing guaranteed after it if you don't handle business. So you understand the experience is cool because you get to feel those moments and you've been through it before. But in terms of the football game, there's nothing different. Still the same time, still all the same rules, and that's really all it's about. So that's your experience tells you better not make stuff up because it's the NFC Championship game. You got to do exactly what you believe in, which is how you spend every minute to give you the best chance to perform your best in those 3 hours when it matters.
On the broadcast, they showed Christian McCaffrey's quad getting worked on. Is there any issue there at all, or was it just maybe a hit to his quad?
No, that's I heard about that on TV cast because some of my family members asked me about it, but that's just what Christian to me always does. He's always working on his body and stuff, and I was told nothing about his quad.
Kyle, you guys had
How do you think Eric Armstead played, and how did he come through it?
Who's that?
Eric Armstead.
Oh, I thought Eric did a hell of a job. He was able to stay out there a little bit more than expected. I think the injury that he's had, that he's been trying to get through, I think it handled the game better than expected. And now it's just about, and I think it was hard for him to be out there that long and stuff, just getting him football shape and everything. And hopefully he'll take a step forward in that this week. But I think in terms of how he played and the old injury that he had, I think it was a huge success.
Kyle, you guys had a ton of success running empty all season, and that really didn't change against the Packers on Saturday. What makes that formation so difficult to defend? Is it as simple as having 5 eligibles, being able to hurt a defense? Is it knowing that they can only run a certain number of coverages against that? And my follow-up to that would be, what was your assessment of the offensive line after watching the game? Because it seemed like Brock had a ton of time to scan the field, and then Christian had a number of carries where he wasn't touched until 4 or 5 yards down the field.
Yeah, empty is always empty spreads it out so the quarterback can see it better. And when you got 5 eligibles out wide, everyone kind of knows the protection you're in. But when they blitz and they go those opposite way of the center, they bring one more than you're protecting. It's a little easier to see where the holes are, so you can get rid of it quicker. We also got some pretty good eligibles in space, and our quarterback does a good job of finding the right guy to go to. And I thought our O-line did a real good job. They had a huge challenge for some of the players they were going against, tough guys to block, and they definitely I give a lot of credit to Green Bay. They were a real tough defense. There were some tough guys to block, and but our guys, they grinded through that whole game, and they gave the quarterback some good windows and some time to throw, especially at the end of the game. And we were able to pave some ways for us to run it in and to eventually do a good job running the ball.
Okay, two more. Kyle, I realize they don't do the same things, but how big was it to get Juwan Jennings back and for him to contribute like he did, especially after Deebo left?
Oh, it's huge, especially losing Deebo there too. But no, Juwan, I mean, he always contributes, and I think people see it more times. You know, obviously people see it more when he catches the ball, but Juwan has an impact when he's ever out there on the field, whether it's the run game or the pass game, and he stepped it up big for us, and is one of the biggest warriors out on the field, and love that he's on our team.
Okay, one more.
Last week you said the Packers numbers don't really match up with how they play on the field. Do you get the same sense watching that with the Lions? Because Aaron Glenn, obviously an aggressive defensive coordinator. What are your thoughts on him?
I'll see more as the week goes, but I would assume so. It's, you know, we're just getting into them right now, so I'm not far enough along with them. But, I mean, they look like a top defense, so numbers don't always show it. But when you watch it from afar, you can tell they're running around making plays. You're familiar with a number of their players that we played in the past or coming out of college. And anytime you tie that type of deal with a really good offense like they have, then the defense is always much better in that case, even if the numbers don't show it. So that's what we'll work on all week here, and I won't be surprised if we end up feeling that same way.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you Wednesday.
All right, guys. Thanks. See you Wednesday.
Thank you.